Welcome to Stories on the Internet, where the wild, the weird, and the deeply human come to life. I'm Web of Stories, and this is your front row seat to real stories from everyday people, tales of creepy encounters, personal struggles, and moments that make you think twice. From bizarre rooftop mysteries to heartfelt family dilemmas, we're diving into the raw, unfiltered experiences that connect us all. Hit subscribe, grab a snack, and let's get lost in the stories. If you live in West Texas, do not touch your roof. Last night. We had a bad thunderstorm. I went out to check on my house, and luckily the only damage was a few missing shingles, a few large branches on the roof, and a couple of segments of my gutters that got blown off. No big deal, so I grabbed my ladder and got up there to clear the debris and check for any holes. I should mention for context I have a farmhouse-style home with a fairly steep roof, so it's a bit of a pain to get up there. Anyway, all was looking good until about 20 minutes into clearing when my hands and firearms started to burn really bad. I noticed some strange clear substance on the spots that were burning, so I went to get off my roof and wash it off. Before I could though, I slipped and started sliding down the back half of my house. I thought I was cooked, but I stopped halfway down the incline. I thought I got lucky and just hooked onto some loose shingles with my hand, but when I looked up there were these black spikes sticking up from my roof and into my hand. I nearly passed out from the sight of it. I thought I impaled myself, though some jagged wood sticking out of my house, but then I looked at it closer and there wasn't any blood, and my skin looked as though it was attached to it somehow. I tried to pull my hand away with no success. Not more than 2 minutes later, I felt a pinch on my leg, and when I looked down more, for the black spikes were growing through my calf, actively growing. I could see them moving. I called 911 and the fire department should be here soon. I have no idea what's going on, but I think it has something to do with the storm last night. So please, if it stormed in your area last night, do not touch your roof. Am I being a jerk for requesting set days for entry from the landlord for my business, or 24-hour notice? I'm a new art therapy business owner who signed a lease for a building in my downtown area, promised to be renovated to my specifications for $1,400 per month. The deal included a temporary warehouse space until the new space was ready in December. However, the completion date was delayed to February, then March, and now August, with no new contract signed beyond the initial 2-year lease. The temporary space, over 5,000 square feet, is too large for a solo clinician, lacks functioning heat, requiring me to buy a furnace, has no lights and parts, using night lights, and utilities are covered by the landlord, preventing me from using my kiln, which limits my business plan. My clients have been patient, but I'm frustrated. I negotiated the rent down to $500 per month after threatening to exit the lease with my deposit returned, citing the unusable space. Construction workers frequently enter the temporary space, often leaving doors unlocked, which feels unsafe as a female working late in a high-traffic area. The landlord provides 12-hour email notices for entry, but I requested text notifications for easier coordination, as I'm in sessions and can't always check email. I also asked for entries on Sundays, Mondays, or specific times on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm not in the office, as 12-hour notices don't allow enough time to reschedule clients who need privacy. Recently, workers entered without my prior awareness. Notice was emailed 16 hours earlier, and when I followed up, the landlord claimed he texted me on May 20th, which I misread as a Monday, when I'm unavailable. I apologized and sent an email proposing a schedule to avoid disrupting client privacy. The landlord responded passive-aggressively, citing 12-hour legal notice, and later texted that my requests pissed him off. I'm concerned about fulfilling my ethical duty to provide a safe, private space for clients and whether I can exit this lease, as we're nearing a year of delays with another year remaining. Email rephrased, neutral tone subject, coordinating property access. I received your email notice for entry on May 27th, less than 24 hours before today's visit. As I've mentioned, text notifications are easier for me to manage during sessions. I texted you today, May 28th, to ask if we could schedule entries on days I'm not in the office, mistakenly thinking your May 20th text referred to a Monday when I'm unavailable. I apologize for the confusion. I understand you need access to the space, but coordinating entries on days I don't have in-person clients, Sundays, Mondays, or Tuesday/Thursday mornings when I'm virtual or at another location would help ensure client privacy, which is critical for my therapy practice. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays are my busiest in-office days. I'd appreciate working together to find a schedule that minimizes disruptions for both of us. Thank you. Text exchange rephrased. Neutral tone landlord. I texted you on May 20th about entry today, and you agreed. My office also sent an email notice yesterday. Me. I saw the email was sent yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. I've sent an email with my schedule to better coordinate future entries. I misread your May 20th text as referring to a Monday when I'm not in the office. I appreciate your understanding and hope we can align schedules moving forward. Landlord, that's fine. I gave notice on May 20th. State law requires 12 hours, just so you know. No issue here. Me, I understand, but 12 hours doesn't always give my clients enough time to reschedule for privacy. I want to support your needs while ensuring my clients' confidentiality. Please see my email with available days. Landlord, I gave proper notice. I can't help if you don't remember. Me, I'm not asking you to remind me. I'm requesting a schedule that respects my clients' privacy needs. My email list stays the space is free to help us coordinate better. Thank you. Landlord, this is frustrating. Stop texting me about this. Was I out of line for saying no to my dad living with me? I am a 38-year-old woman with a 65-year-old father who has struggled with alcohol addiction for 17 years. A few years ago, I drove 8 hours each way, totaling 16 hours, to bring him to live with me, my teenage daughter, and my then boyfriend. He had his own room, and I prepared his meals, but I refused to buy him alcohol. However, my boyfriend would drive him to get beer or liquor every few days. After a month, my father's sister purchased him a bus ticket to return to his home city, and I could not force him to stay, so he left. I have 4 siblings, 2 older brothers, a younger sister, and a younger half-sister from my father's relationship after our mother's death. I am the only one who moved away. My siblings live near each other, with my half-sister a few hours away at college. Over the years, my father has been hospitalized multiple times for seizures and dehydration. Now, my family wants to arrange a new living situation for him. I got married in January to a different partner, have a nearly 17-year-old daughter, and am 8 months pregnant with my second child. I am exhausted, managing a full-time career alongside my husband's. Despite my love for my father, I lack the mental capacity to care for an addict, especially with my daughter home for the summer and a baby due soon. I do not want my daughter responsible for him either. I have been his primary contact, as my siblings often avoid his calls. Through therapy, I have learned to forgive and understand him, unlike my siblings. Historically, I have been seen as the responsible one, with family members contacting me first about my father's issues. However, I am now drained and want to prioritize my family and new baby. I'm 18 years old, and I'm starting university this August. I'm from a small town, so I'll have to move to a nearby city to study. To save money on transportation and focus better on my studies, a relative kindly offered me a place to stay while I'm at university. The problem is, even though I haven't moved yet, changes are already being made to my bedroom. My stepfather's daughter, who's shared the room with me since I was 13, started painting the walls and wants to get rid of my bed. My mom agrees with this, saying that since I won't be living at home, it's more practical to get me a folding sandwich bed to use only when I visit. It hurts to feel like, before I've even left, I don't have a space in my own home anymore. I told my mom how I felt, and I also mentioned it to some relatives on my dad's side. They confronted my mom about it, and that's when she found out that now, since I'm starting university, the money that was sent for my expenses will go directly to me. She doesn't think this is fair because my siblings also need support, especially since I'm going to a public university where most costs are covered. But this isn't the first time I've felt like my mom is turning her back on me. When I was younger, I inherited a piece of land while living with my grandparents and some uncles. At that time, my dad's sister, who lives abroad, wanted to adopt me and bring me to live with her. My mom fought for her rights as my mother and managed to stop the adoption process. That, and even paid my mom to make it easier for her to agree. Eventually, my mom changed her mind and took me to live with her. I agreed because I'd never lived with her before and wanted to get to know my siblings. I was about 9 years old then. But after selling the land I inherited and spending the money, my mom sent me back to live with my grandparents. Now, I feel like it's happening again. She's pushing me aside at a really important time in my life. When I confronted her about it, she called me ungrateful, said I should thank her for giving me life, and accused my grandparents of treating me like a servant. She also accused me of being jealous and letting my dad's family influence me. She said it would be fairer if the money they send for me continued to go to her, because she really needs it. I don't want to fight with my mom. I just want her to acknowledge me as her daughter, to respect my feelings and decisions. She thinks I'm overreacting and that there's no need to keep 2 beds in a room where only one person will live, and that I'll only visit sometimes. But I feel like I have every right. It hurts that my space and place in this home aren't respected. After all, this is my home too. How can she do this to me? Did I come off as rude? For suggesting my partner get second job to help with debt? For context, my partner has a lot of credit card debt to pay off and not the best spending habits. He's a collector and buys a lot of video games, kits, mystery boxes, eats out most days, etc. His job has limited hours and does not allow over 40 hours at all, so he's usually in the 35, 40-hour range. He has a set schedule, off at 4 p.m. and works 4 days a week. I work 50, 60-hour weeks as a manager, typically working 5 to 6 days a week, for background on our situations. I suggested to him that he could check around for a part-time job to do a couple days a week to work towards getting debt paid off faster, since it's something he talks about wanting to do often, so we can move out together more securely. He seems to want me to just help him pay off the debt, and when we move out together, he just wants me to pay a bigger percentage of rent, because he has more bills to pay off. I feel like it's just setting me up to be stressed and overworked even more, trying to help him pay off his bills, along with my own expenses, while I'm working more hours than he is. Was that an unfair suggestion to make? I just felt that it wasn't a horrible suggestion, given his set schedule and limited hours. He has told me in the past he doesn't want to work more often, since he likes to game on his days off. Is there any advice or suggestions you have that would have been better to motivate him, or what could help in this scenario? I have no debt, so I'm unsure of any better ways for him to go about this. I don't want to seem like I want him to overwork, but I also think he could be doing more to pay things off and move forward. I don't want to have the complete responsibility of helping him pay his bills and paying most of rent, while I'm working more hours than him and having not much left for myself. Thanks in advance. I am a 22-year-old recent college graduate. While my peers focused on resumes and job interviews, my parents, who own a large waste management company with citywide contracts, trucks, and recycling centers, informed me I would work for them. They expect me to eventually take over the family business, but insisted I start at the entry level to understand the operations fully. I respected their approach and agreed. I began working in low-level roles, such as hauling trash bins and sorting recyclables, wearing the same uniform as other employees and keeping my identity as the owner's son private to gain authentic experience without favoritism. Initially, the work was humbling, and I developed admiration for my coworkers' dedication. However, over time, I noticed I was assigned more undesirable tasks, like organizing bins and cleaning up after others, while some colleagues did less. I accepted this as part of earning respect and did not complain. One challenging day, after a sleepless night and working in heavy rain, I was exhausted and soaked. The team was short-staffed, and a senior employee, Ron, attempted to leave early, assigning me his remaining tasks, stating I should handle them as the new employee. Frustrated, I calmly but firmly refused to take on his work, unwilling to continue accepting extra duties solely due to my junior status. Ron warned that management might hear about my attitude, to which I responded that we could discuss it with management immediately. He backed down and left without further comment. This was the first time I stood up for myself at work. I did not reveal my connection to the company owners and have no intention to do so. I am questioning whether I was wrong to push back, as I want to learn the business thoroughly but not at the expense of being unfairly treated. I am a 22-year-old individual who experienced a vivid and unusual dream. It began with me resting in a large, comfortable sleeping bag made of silicone, resembling a flashlight. Suddenly, the sleeping bag vibrated intensely, as if activating something. Its walls expanded and glowed, and a portal opened at the base. I was pulled through and landed in a grand throne room constructed entirely of silicone materials, where hundreds of small silicone figures bowed and chanted, quote, "All hail the king of flashlights," unquote. These figures carried me to a golden silicone throne. My ex-wife appeared, dressed as a high priestess of the same material, and remarked with disapproval, quote, "Of course you ended up here," unquote. A silicone object named Cream Muff, with glowing eyes, spoke in a high-pitched voice, defending me by saying my ex-wife never recognized my potential. A giant silicone overlord with tentacles descended from the ceiling, proclaiming that only the true king could restore balance to their realm. My ex-wife expressed disgust. The overlord challenged me to prove my worth, handing me a scepter shaped like a silicone object. I was tasked with defending the kingdom against an invading army of opposing objects. During the battle, I wielded the scepter bravely, but my ex-wife shouted, quote, "This is why I left you," unquote, and pushed me into a deep, dark silicone pit. I fell endlessly, hearing her disappointed voice echo, and awoke sweating heavily. I am wondering if this dream reflects poorly on me or if I am wrong for being affected by it. I am a 25-year-old individual who wrote a heartfelt letter to a woman I deeply admire, whom I refer to as my beautiful queen, expressing gratitude for her impact on my life. I thanked her sincerely for the genuine moments we shared in person, which meant a great deal to me during a challenging time. I explained that her vibrant smile, genuine excitement, and unconditional love, combined with her strength in not tolerating disrespect, were qualities I found inspiring and supportive when I was struggling emotionally. I noted that I was often present just to be near her, seeking something real amidst personal difficulties, though my reserved demeanor likely hid how much I was hurting. I expressed appreciation for her giving me a fair chance despite any preconceived notions from others, and for her care, which felt significant even if not unique, especially when I felt my world was collapsing. I acknowledged past moments where I mishandled situations due to anger or a desire for vengeance, but her presence helped me stay grounded. I mentioned a hope for a future together, referring to her as my wife, and emphasized I would choose her in any circumstance, even in dire situations like a war-torn refugee camp. However, I gently suggested she reach out to me, perhaps in person, as I sensed she might be avoiding me, though I respect her need to move at her own pace. I encouraged her to contact me, even with a simple greeting, to discuss our connection, and affirmed my patience and excitement for what lies ahead. I am questioning if I was wrong to express these feelings so openly or to suggest she might be avoiding me, wondering if this makes me inconsiderate of her boundaries. I am a 22-year-old male who recently graduated from college and lives in a high-end building in New York City, where I teach piano to 2 children, including a 4-year-old boy who is restless and requires his mother's presence during lessons in my apartment. His mother, a young, attractive woman, has been notably direct, asking about my personal life, such as my spring break trip, during encounters in our building's elevator. I keep responses professional, avoiding personal questions, as I have met her husband, who seems pleasant. Recently, she wore revealing clothing to a lesson, which caught my attention. Today, she texted at 10:30 in the morning, asking if I was home to discuss the lesson schedule. With my father staying over post-graduation, I suggested meeting in her apartment or the lobby due to a work call, but she proposed the rooftop. We discussed my recent Florida trip where I mentioned having freedom to go out, and she expressed envy, wishing she could party like she did before having a child. Rain interrupted, and I noticed her shirt was revealing, which affected me physically. Inside, we talked for 20 minutes near the elevator about my gym routine, and she complimented my fitness, mentioning she and her husband are not together, despite living together due to high rent. She expressed a desire to move out and enjoy weekends when her son is with his father. I responded supportively. After parting, I texted to thank her for the scheduling and conversation, and she replied positively, hinting at wanting more time. I am unsure if she is flirting, if her marital status is true, or if I am overthinking, and I wonder if I should act before the next lesson on Saturday. Saturday.